This is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast, where leaders, seasoned entrepreneurs, and business owners share their wisdom. It's straight to the point to respect people's time, and because we know knowledge and wisdom turn to business possibility, and possibility mixed with support and action become reality. In this podcast, we discuss leadership, sales, marketing, operations, team development, quality, and finance to drive sustainable results and everlasting impact to make the world a better place. Thanks for joining us. Hey, Joseph, welcome to the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast.
Thanks for having me, Brad. I'm so pumped, looking forward to today's conversation. We're going to have a great time.
This is great. I'm glad to have you here. I'm glad you took a chunk out of your day to be here to serve and for the listeners and people watching. So, Joseph, you just start off and just share with the people listening and watching, like, who you are and what you do.
Oh my goodness, I'm happy to. The Cliff Notes, the Coles Notes, 5 times entrepreneur, all B2B software. I've had tons of diversity of success. I've shuttered a couple of businesses. I've sold a couple of businesses. And right now, taking all the lessons from all of our past companies and baking it into Uvaro, where we help people launch and grow fulfilling careers. And I'm just having a blast. It's an amazing time taking all of this B2B experience and helping individuals change their lives. So I'm having a great time.
I love it. I love the energy too. And, quintessential entrepreneur, right? I've won some, I've lost some, I've crushed some are awesome, some not so much. I love it. I mean, it's truth being told, right? That's the life of an entrepreneur.
That's it.
Not only that, but the energy you bring to it and the excitement, right? So, and I know you've expanded, right? So you were super niched into tech, but now you've expanded a little bit more to careers in general. And so you're serving more people.
That's right. We're helping people who are just starting their careers in tech. We're helping people who are looking to get more out of an existing career. And I mean, it's a challenging world out there right now. And I love the fact we get to help so many and that we're expanding and bringing that value to many more every single day.
I love it. I love it. Joseph, what's the best thing about being in business for you?
Oh my goodness. I get to see people do great work. And it's funny, before this company, I would have given you the same answer. I get to see people do great work, and seeing someone join my company, flourish, thrive, go on, doing something new is incredible to see. And now with Uvaro, we get to do that with our customers as well. And it's awesome because we walk alongside people for a very short part of their career journeys, whether that's in work, whether it's customers, whether it's family and friends. And to see the impact you have on someone's journey and to realize that impact is everlasting and was much larger than it originally was is a really inspiring thing.
Love that. So true transformation in a sprint format is what I heard you say.
That's exactly it. It's tight, impactful transformation with long-lasting impact.
I love it. I would venture, I don't know if you'll agree, but I'll ask if you agree. But I'm thinking in today's world, that is such a plus, right? Because there's a plethora of information out there. And so how do we weed through that and we really get to the crux of something to take a sprint on what we need, like a boot camp or like a very specific roadmap or a very specific course or DIY, whatever it is, right? And get to a place that's actually going to produce some results for you that are everlasting. It's a beautiful thing.
It is beautiful. And I think the part that's been so, the thing I've learned the most surprising to me is really, truly how diverse people's point in time is. I mean, we see members who they need that course, they need deep hands-on training. That's the next milestone. We have others where they join us and the first thing they need is actually more of a boost of confidence. Hey, we're going to put you in some workshops, some practice sessions and show you it's not that hard. Or we see others who are really well equipped and they're getting doors shut in their face because they don't know the jargon or they don't know the language. And then it's really just about, fine tuning around the edges and, realizing that if you find the right lever to impact someone's career and then you actually dig in and focus on that really hard, you can have a huge transformation in a short period of time.
Oh, I love that. The whole leverage aspect of that is fantastic. imagine you've found too, that one of the hardest things is just getting started. And so sometimes having somebody with you, having that support is tremendous. And sometimes that's all that's needed. And other times it's a little more techy than that. And so, there's a fear of the tech or not sure what to do. So this is fantastic. I love it.
Totally. A large part of it is that, ally who's walking alongside you and a safe place to make mistakes. And honestly, even if that's all we provided, we'd still have a massive impact. And so, yeah, that safety is a big deal.
Oh, I make mistakes everywhere all the time. I don't know that I always feel safe, but that must feel nice.
Like you're saying earlier, isn't that the life of the entrepreneur? We're just gonna keep making our mistakes and learning from them.
Indeed. It is something we learn along the way for sure. Joseph, this is a fun question. This is one of my favorites. An integrator myself, I'm kind of a systems guy. So we ask this question from everybody and you get a very diverse answers, right? We hear from other business owners. They're getting so much business sometimes that the chaos that comes with that causes a little bit of overwhelm. Would you be willing to share your thoughts on that?
Oh my goodness, yes. And I love the fact that you called out that you're the integrator. And if anybody is like a good big fan of like traction and EOS, having a strong integrator on your team is so pivotal. And the big thing that I always talk to entrepreneurs about is it's such a cliche. Your team is really what makes the difference, but it is so profound. If you can find the right person to complement your skills and your weaknesses, you're going to have profound success. And to your point, I know I do a great job of articulating where we're heading, getting our team excited about it, proving enough that we can get there, but then actually making sure it doesn't all fall apart while we run. I'm really lucky that I've got both a fantastic COO who's a co-founder, and we brought on a CFO who is our integrator, who helps keep everything humming along. And the faster your business grows, the tougher that gets. I think people often mistake, and I don't know if you've heard this from others you chat with, but people think the bigger you get, the faster those problems pile up. But I'm always surprised. I find it's much less about the actual size of the organization and more just how fast it's changing. You have a big organization that's kind of steady state, and if they're not changing that much, these problems don't hit you as fast. And you can have a really small organization where your customers are changing, the industry is changing, your competitors are changing. It's like crap's flying at your face left, right, and center all the time, and you really need that kind of robust team to help you make sense of it all. It's a tough one.
That's a great point. So a lot of people do equate, monetary value. Like this is how fast we're going to have to move in order to get to that. But you're actually expressing something different. And I love that. I truly love that because it's not about the monetary value. It's about the market changes, the dynamics of it all, right? How many team members are you bringing in? What kind of systems do you have? And yes, having an integrator. They say that there's like 4 integrators every 100 visionaries. I don't know if that's a true stat. Some stats are just made up on the fly, but I don't know if that's true stat. But there's definitely advantages to having an integrator on the team by far. There's a lot of people who are visionaries. So great points.
It is. I'm curious if you've seen the same thing, but I often find when I speak to entrepreneurs, and maybe you hear the same thing on your shows, we often bring people on to our teams and they say, wow, on the one hand, I feel like it's been such a short period of time. I've only been here 3 months. And then on the other hand, it feels like I've been here, a member of the team forever. And that juxtaposition comes up to me all the time. Do you hear the same thing?
All the time. One of my clients recently, we just had we integrated an onboarding system in a different way. And one of the new people came on and they're like, oh my goodness, I've just been here a week and this is great. You're so organized. And the rest of the team, wow, that's a huge compliment. We feel like we've been here forever working on this. And so, yes, absolutely 100% true. Great points, Joseph. Appreciate
it. I love sharing that because I like knowing that it's not just me encountering that. One of my mentors helped me frame it up the right way when he told me that human beings are really terrible at measuring time in hours, weeks, days, years. We measure time by the number of changes and experiences. And in an early stage company, especially as you're moving, a million miles an hour, your people who join the team have a million high impactful experiences one after the other. And it means it's going to feel like a long period of time, but it also means we have a lot more work as leaders to help them navigate all those events and all those changes. Because it can be exhausting and overwhelming.
Great point. I'm glad you highlighted that, Joseph, because I think we're all aware today, as opposed to in the 1970s. Yes, I was exposed to that too. And we're all aware today how important culture is. And so when things are
Mm.
moving that quickly, right? So you highlighted that point of leadership there. When things are moving a million miles a minute, it's different than when you're in a stabilized company that's been around for, a decade. They have their own issues, but when you're in a fast pace, whether it's tech or not, you're moving at light speed. Leadership is really, really important, and the culture of that community is essential. So, great points.
It's interesting, that idea of leadership being essential. I think a lot of leaders make their problems harder than they need to be as
Mm,
well. We we love what we're doing. Like every entrepreneur does, or they wouldn't be doing it. And
mm,
we love getting our team excited. We like talking about change. We like rolling it out. But we often don't think about how our team is going to navigate that change, and how are we going to have to reflect on that in 6 months or so. So I love trying to bring on team members who will help make my job easier in the future. But I think there's things we could do as leaders now to make that easier. One thing that I've picked up is every time we do a kickoff, like an annual kickoff or a 6 month kickoff, I try to buy myself a good 10, 15 minutes ahead of time to think about what is the team going to be looking like and feeling like 6 months from now. Like, if we need to hire a bunch of managers, are they going to be reeling from the fact that we all have these managers who don't know our culture? Yeah. If we're going to have to roll out 2 products, are we going to have customers complaining because it's a brand new rough product? And I distill those down to bullet points, and I tell the team, hey, in 6 months, here's the crap we're going to be dealing with. And on the one hand, that feels scary. It's like, am I just going to get them all worked up? But in 6 months, when we do our next session, I'm like, we can come back and we're like, hey, look, remember all that crap we said we're going to have to deal with? Look, we're dealing with it. It's evidence that this is normal. It's okay. And it makes it way easier for all of your managers, your leaders, and your team to kind of bring down the stress a notch or two.
Joseph, great stuff. So you're prepping them. I mean, you're literally prepping them for what you're going to walk through. That is fantastic. Instead of just having to, walk blind through like a lot of this. And that is true
Mhm.
visionary step right there. It's like, hey, let's think through this. What are we going to have to work through? How are we going to feel? That's what really jumped out
Mhm.
to me about what you said, is like, that says a lot about the culture of the companies that you've built. It's like, how are people going to feel through this, right? At the end, in the middle, right now. That is some 4D thinking right there. I love it. I love it. Joseph, this is always a fun question too. Like, everybody has a diverse background and they all know different people and whatnot. But who else that you know that's successful like you ought to be on the Unlimited Wisdom podcast?
Oh my goodness. You asked that question and you commented about being an integrator earlier. So I have to point to the integrator on our team, Jenna Trong, our CFO. She only joined our team this year, and the impact has been massive. But the reason why I highlight her is that she's overcome not just the challenges of building a career as a consummate professional, but she has seen a ridiculous variety of business models,
Mm.
from private equity, acquisitions, turnarounds, tech startups, international, developing talent in NGOs in Africa, uh, all the while pulling organizations together for operational excellence. I have learned so much from her in the short time that we've been together. Every time we connect, it feels like I'm picking up new tips and tricks. So I would totally nominate Jenna.
Well put and well described. A true integrator that has a wide variety of experience in many
Mhm.
different industries. I look forward to that. That's fantastic. Let's get to the crux of this, right? Let's get to some wisdom. I know you have this vast array of wise things you've learned along the way. And I'm not joking. It might sound like I'm joking, but I'm not. I mean that sincerely. What's one piece of wisdom or a couple tips and tricks that you would share with other business owners, Joseph?
The the one really big thing that sounds simple but is really tough is encouraging business owners to give away recruiting as fast as possible.
Mm,
Um, and it sounds really simple, and I think a lot of people misinterpret it. So let me unpack a bit. Um, I regularly encounter CEOs, founders who say things like, I've interviewed every employee who's joined us up until we got to 100 or 150, like until it wasn't reasonable anymore. And it often comes across as a sense of pride. And they're rightfully, they're proud that they engaged and interviewed everyone. The challenge is if you build your team that way, you become the limiter to how fast you can grow. Whereas if you can develop really strong interview frameworks, evaluations, really good principles, like what does it mean to evaluate someone for a culture fit? And you can actually let go and trust and know your team is going to hire the right people. You've built a talent machine. And we talk about building systems in our company. Well, acquiring the right people is absolutely a core part. And we talk a lot about hiring for career success, not just job fit. And we can't do that if we don't relinquish and hand off that job. And so, yeah, disengaging actively. With this company, we got to employee 11 before I was completely uninvolved. One day I aspire to run a company where I can get that down into the single digits before I can get completely disengaged. But it's a tough challenge. And if you can do it well, it's going to accelerate your growth so much.
I love that. This is such an important point. I want to highlight this and maybe even dive down a little bit more. This is really important. One of the biggest challenges for companies is building their team, as you know, right? That's one of the biggest challenges. I don't care what business, what industry, but like you name it, it's one of the biggest challenges out there in business. And so what you're saying is, and it stuck out to me, the word limiter, right? If you're the CEO and you're interviewing and you're wearing that as a badge of honor, then you're actually becoming the linchpin. You're becoming the limiter. They're always going to come to you, for their questions and whatnot. I mean, you're literally limiting your business, and in turn, your shorter success, not your ultimate success, right? But condensing that time frame, which is what we want to do as an entrepreneur. Go ahead.
I'd actually say it limits the long-term success too, in that when it goes wrong the same way every time. As the company scales, your whole team says, okay, I need to respect the CEO's time more. So instead of having them early in the cycle, we're going to put them right at the end. How many companies have you heard? The last interview is with the CEO. And now you put the CEO in this tough position. Either they start just rubber stamping interviews that come in, which, I mean, the CEO never feels good about that. The team never feels good about that. Or they actually start exercising judgment, in which case the team has said, I like this candidate so much. They've gone through 2, 3, 4, 5 steps. We're putting them to the CEO. And the CEO just said, all the work we did was worthless. Go back, don't hire this person. At that point, you're now undermining everybody who's been involved in their interview process. And those are the people who need to bring in the rest of your talent. So if you don't get to it early, the longer you let it go, the worse the impact to your team building machine gets. So it's a tough one. People don't realize it. And I've seen companies get to 100, 200, 300, still making those mistakes.
That's a great point. This really is simple advice. However, I've seen this as well as you time and time again. And I see that from your true experience, how relevant this can be in many, many companies, right? So wasted resources in any company is a big deal, right? Efficiency and, time and all that kind of stuff. So great points. You get to the CEO and the CEO says, yeah, I'm not sure they're the right fit. And maybe they're right and maybe they're wrong. It's always a judgment call, right? So totally. Maybe they just need to lean on their team a little bit more to trust their team's judgment. And maybe they're wrong about the things. I mean, it happens. Great points all the way around. This is a really important topic. So if you want to build your team faster and you don't want to limit your growth or your scalability, then start building systems in hiring right away, and great ones at that.
100%.
Great points.
100%.
Great points. But I want to switch gears for a moment. Like, we haven't talked much about your business at all, which I appreciate. And you've been really humble and everything, but you've done some fascinating, some really killer things. So would you, without shame, boast about yourself and what you're working into and what you're working on, and like what kind of results that your clients are you're achieving, your students?
For sure. I find it's often best to highlight the problem. We all know the job market is tough. Things are painful, but folks often don't realize how bad it is. Over the last 25 years, again, year over year, solidly 25 years, half of Americans have actually seen their real wages decline year over year. Half the people are actually experiencing career regression. And that's terrible. Like, that's what the new normal is. We tackle that head on. We run a career success platform, and it offers a combination of just-in-time job training, so like digital upskilling, job matching, so we pair people's skills and roles to available job postings, and then ongoing coaching so they succeed. And I mean, the company is still growing, but we've really cracked the code in a lot of ways. Our members on average are seeing 80% plus job satisfaction, an average 120% pay increase in their first role. And after completing one of our training programs, the average time to land a new role is 17 days. It's just, if anybody tunes in and measures NPS, they'll appreciate this. We run a 93 NPS. So been pretty freaking happy with the results. And honestly, the biggest concern we have right now in our acquisition, like our member sign-up process, is our testimonials and reviews look too good. We often get questions like, is this real? Were these honest reviews? And our team celebrated. We got our first negative review earlier this year. We're like, oh my goodness, we look more legit now. This is great.
That's so funny.
It is. It's a fun set of challenges.
I love it. And I love that you brought up, net promoter score too, because there's a lot of people are like, what? NPS, what's that? Hold on. And they're like Googling right now. But that's totally a great way to measure. I'm all about the measurements, right? Measurement system analysis and all that kind of stuff. So for those of you who are measurers out there, you're chuckling right now. And that is 93%. It's like 93.
It's amazing. And my only concern about it is, I mean, mathematically, there's almost no way to go but down. And so I know, like, a year we'll be on a podcast. I'll be like, great, our FPS is amazing. It's at 80, but it's down from 93. I don't know. We'll get there.
We're going to focus on the positive, focus on the good, Joseph. No, that's great. That is a true achievement. So congratulations. And I love what you said there. Like, so you're not just tossing out a course, or it's not just DIY, or you have a variety of things. You've obviously learned along the way that it's not just one of those things, that there's, like you spoke into the beginning, like we're coming full circle, right? There's people that need this, and then they need that, and then they need that in order to truly succeed. And so I've actually looked at your website, and I'm the rare bird that does the due diligence before we hop on these things. And it looks great. I love how you have that laid out, because it's more holistic that way, right? So they're truly getting, and the numbers you said, I don't recall them off the hand, but it was like, tell me again, the success rates and the increase in
on average, our members, from their salary before joining Uvaro to their first job after joining, it's an average of 120% increase. It's like more than doubling. And you hit the nail on the head. Everyone's at a different point of their journey. So our members they stay because they re-engage. Like, yes, maybe they do the intro to sales program, but then in a year they do the sales leadership program or the customer success program because they want to go somewhere else. And so the members who are staying on average are growing their salaries another 20% year over year. And when we compare that to that average of half the people seeing a salary decline, we're pretty happy with how we're doing against the status quo.
Heck yes, results. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Joseph, thank you so much. We're going to switch gears one more time. I ask every guest this question because I love it, because I believe, and I believe you share this too, right? That we work to live, not live to work. So what's the most fun vacation you've ever had, Joseph?
Oh my goodness. It has to be this year. My wife and I, we knocked something off my bucket list and went to the 𝐒𝐴𝐴𝐿𝐼 Islands. And
wow, that was on my bucket list.
It's so good. And I love my kids, but we took the time and we left them with my sister, and the two of us went on the most incredibly educational, enjoyable, healthy, amazing trip. And man, I wish I tried to scratch that off years ago. It's definitely one to go.
That sounds tremendous. Okay, we're going to chat about that. That sounds wonderful. Joseph, when somebody watches this and they listen to it and they're really interested in gaining more information or getting in touch, what's the best way for them to do that?
If they're interested in what we're doing at Uvaro, hitting our site is great, Uvaro, UVARO.com. And if they want to connect with me, I'm available on most social platforms, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all as Joseph Fung, all one word, jam it together, and you'll probably find me there.
Okay, one more question. I'm going to fold in here and then we'll wrap. When they do that, because there's a lot of people who actually do that, right? So they listen and then they want to gain some information, and so they go out to social media. What's one thing that they wouldn't find out about you from your social media?
Oh, I'm pretty open on my social media. What is the thing they're not gonna find out about me?
That you went to the Galapagos Islands.
Yeah, no, I think I tell some of that on my Insta profile. Actually, the thing they won't find is my hobbies on the side. I do just a bit of electronic music production, but that's on my Instagram profile. I study circus arts on the side, and I don't post that stuff on social because it's really awkward and uncomfortable, and I hurt myself more than I care to admit. But it is a blast. It is so good.
That's so great. I love your energy. Joseph, thanks for being on. I realize, again, you took a chunk out of your day. You could be looking for clients or serving clients right now, but you're right here serving everybody listening and watching. So appreciate you. I celebrate you. Thanks for being on.
My pleasure, Brad.
This is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast, where leaders, seasoned entrepreneurs, and business owners share their wisdom. If you're looking for more on leadership, sales, marketing, or operations to drive team development, higher quality, and high-level sustainable profits, we encourage you to join the Built for Brilliance community on Facebook or reach out to us about one of our mastermind groups, coaching or consulting, or even fractional COO services. You can reach us at buildbrilliance.net/contact. We thank you for listening, for sharing the show, and appreciate your rating and reviews, as this makes more shows possible. Thanks for joining us.